Hi everyone, and welcome back to Guidebound, the series where we go through a game following its strategy guide. In this case, of course, continuing StarCraft Brood War and the Terran Campaign because we left off going through about half of the missions before. All I can say about this video and the upcoming missions is, for being the subject of going through a game following the guide, there are a couple of moments where it would probably be best that I read it a little bit more carefully to actually follow it. Nothing too crazy, and it is corrected, but you'll soon find out what I mean. So with that, thanks for joining, and let's go into the next mission. Well, when we first get into Mission 5 and we pull up the map, it's called Emperor's Fall, and the reason is we're now assaulting Mengsk's command center. So we start in the bottom left, and his base is in the top right. It is pretty enormous, for sure, takes up about half of the map, and his command center is in the far top right. There's a few other points on the map, but it's not that important at this time to mention all of them. We'll speak about them as the author tells us what to do in the next steps. So with that, why don't we get into the mission, start getting these resources going, because one of the first things the author says is that we're going to be assaulted by some battle cruisers pretty soon. We do get some of these Ghosts and Goliaths. All the author wants us to do is the lockdown ability, so that makes it really easy to take these out. Here's another handful over here. We'll do the lockdown ability again. Try to make sure that nobody gets really damaged too much. I mean, of course, we're going to lose a couple of units here and there, but not too many. This will really reduce the amount of damage that we take. Here's those last handful of battle cruisers. Able to take these out relatively easily, again, with that lockdown ability. And just like that, all the author wants us to do now is build up a small force and then be able to go and take out that area A to the north. So that's what we'll do next. Well, here we go. This next step should be pretty easy. All we need, according to the author, is a handful of our starting units, which includes building up some Marines and some medics, a couple of siege tanks, and that way we can use the restoration ability of the medics on our mech units. He also mentioned to bring in an SCV to repair any units, and a science vessel, because we're going to face plenty of ghosts. So let's move up here, see what we find at the first resource area. I thought there was some defense here, but I guess not. The thing the author does want us to do, though, is to set up a defensive perimeter to stop enemy units from coming across the bridge over here at Area E. So that's what we'll do. We'll leave a couple of siege tanks here and maybe a couple of bunkers, and then go to the next section. Ooh, looks like back at the base, I am getting assaulted by a handful of these battle cruisers. So it would be good to lock them down as well so we don't take too much damage. There we go. Very powerful ability, and need to make sure that we constantly have some ghosts at the base here to be able to do this. Oh, looks like at the other spot I'm also getting assaulted, so the enemy AI is pretty aggressive at this location. Good to be sure and keep track of all of this. Alright, we have some base defenses up here near that bridge, so we have a couple of bunkers, the siege tank, and a medic, per usual, as the author wants us to keep a medic around the siege tank to stop it from being locked down. Now we can go to the other bridge, which is going to be Section C on the map. Take that over, and then also establish some base defenses to cut off the enemy from attacking that direction. Well, here we go, taking out that bridge area. Pretty lightly defended, although there are some more battle cruisers on the way. But we are pretty well stocked up with our initial units still, so we should be fine. Wow, I just did the scan ability, and that is a ton of spider mines. Okay, so make a mental note to not just run across the bridge. We will be sitting back over here to create a choke point for them to come across here. Well, once again, we do finally have this area pretty secure, so I feel safe that now we can follow the author's next steps, which he wants us to assault and take our force over to D, and we can expand there when we look at the map if we want to, but that's the main area that we are going to basically do our assaults from on Mengsk's base. So let's get that area secure next. Alright, this map is actually kind of crazy. There are way more assaults from these battle cruisers than I initially expected. I mean, here's one right over here, and then here's a couple more that are trying to sneak by. Yeah, this is a lot more than I was expecting. I mean, it's nice because the mission is a little bit more complex and you have to be on your toes from every angle of watching for these battle cruisers. Well, we took out this area where there's a bunch of resources, but it is pretty heavily defended over this area. So before we do an all-out assault, why don't we take a look and see what the author would like us to do as one of the final steps in the guide. So one option we have is to push north with a siege tank, medic, and SCV support group, and then just punch our way through little by little, in combination with potentially using some nukes as well. And we can do that all the way to Mengsk's command center in that top right area. But that's on one page of the guide. If we look at another section, the author has a small note that says another method is to use battle cruisers up with SCV support and attack en masse. I don't know about anyone else, but if there's an option to mass battle cruisers and go up the map, I think that may be the best choice. So let's see how that unfolds as we build up that armada. Well, here we are, just a little bit of time later, that's all, just a couple minutes or so. All right, I think we are ready to begin the assault per the author's advice. Yeah, none of these initial defenses stand a chance whatsoever against such an overwhelming fleet of firepower. Again, one of the strengths of the StarCraft campaign is getting access to these powerful units, being able to sit back and defend, and then build everything up until you have this overwhelming force that just completely destroys everything that it comes across. Well, when we have this many battle cruisers and we're punching our way through up to the command center of Mengsk, which is just right here, why don't we go up here and use as many Yamato cannons as we can? And just like that, the mission is complete. Inside of Mission 6, I'll pull up the map, and it's called Emperor's Flight because we're chasing down Mengsk. Also Raynor, he's part of the equation right now too. But we start at roughly the bottom left, and basically right away, the author says that what we need to do is take out the Zerg that are already there so we can establish our own base, which happens automatically as we go through the mission. But then quickly after defending that initial base, we need to expand to areas A and B, and then also provide defenses for those two locations. So why don't we see how everything unfolds as I get into the mission. You know, one thing about this starting sequence that is really interesting with the StarCraft campaign is there is a huge amount of variation I found when you do this starting sequence. So right now, I don't have control of these units, these Valkyries. They're on their own, the computer is controlling them. And what's interesting is I had a time before this where right now, so you see I have 6 Valkyries that have survived. I tried it once before this, and I think it was 4? Maybe 5? So it's just interesting that there's a different amount of variation when you do this, so just be aware of that. Well, this area was super lightly defended. This is area B right now, so as soon as we take this out, we can establish our own base, and it looks like we're getting lightly assaulted, nothing too crazy, and we'll be able to defend this somewhat easily. Well, here we go. We also established Area A over here, and we put up a good amount of defenses. Let me get this tank into siege mode, and you can see we're getting lightly assaulted, nothing too crazy. And let me continue showing you the base. Little area right here of defense, and then also set this up. Couple of things at the entrance, just kept these tanks on the high ground with some missile turrets. What is the next thing the author would like us to do? It looks as though we need to go against Area C, and it's a Zerg base in the upper left. We need to have a group of siege tanks with 1 science vessel and then 10 marines with 2 of those medics. The science vessel is going to spot those lurkers so they don't destroy our marines. We can also send the group of Valkyries over to that area to take care of any air. So why don't we do that, and again, see how it goes, because so far it's been pretty smooth. Only a couple of light assaults from the AI, so nothing crazy. Well, the author did say to build a group of siege tanks with 1 science vessel. So I'm taking a group as being 12. So 11 siege tanks and then 1 science vessel as part of 1 group. He does want us to inch little by little forward here. Don't think we should have any issue with the mass siege tanks that we've built up. And then just to make it even easier, why don't we send forward some of our Valkyries to take out all of these Mutalisks. This is a really good fight right here. We have a lot of things going on, taking out lurkers. We have our siege tanks. Well, they're just in the regular tank mode. I don't think they need to be in the siege mode. But yeah, this is going great. Why don't we use some of our abilities here to actually put it to good use? But yeah, as we expected, well, surprisingly, I lost a good amount of tanks, just given that I'm not microing per usual very efficiently, but overall, we'll take out this base relatively quickly, and then we'll be good to go to see what the author wants us to do next. Wow, surprisingly, this base was really well defended, and I actually don't have very many troops left. I'm really surprised that they had so much defense over here. Well, let's restock up and then begin the assault again, and we will continue pushing on. Oh, this is surprising. I'm getting attacked from a couple of locations. The Zerg are sending a Guardian over here. I'm also getting assaulted by the Protoss with a carrier. Good thing is it's not really efficient with using its... I can't even remember what the name of that is called. Here we go, just taking out the final remnants of this Zerg base to see how the author would like us to do things. Oh, that's really interesting. So he wants us to do 2 different attack waves, one from Area C that we just took over, and another one from Area A. The attack wave from Area C needs to include Valkyries, battle cruisers, and a dropship or 2 full of Marines. The one that's coming from Area A should be the same units that attacked C. That's interesting and seems like it may be swapped around, but that's exactly how I will follow the instructions. Well, here we go, ready to begin our assault. So we'll slowly move up some of our units here to the staging area, the ones that we used to attack the previous Zerg base. And then also, I have a group of 6 Valkyries and 4 battlecruisers, along with the 2 dropships that we can bring over to the eastern side. And it looks like I'm getting attacked already over here by a pretty large assault force. Let's see how this goes. Just try and select my Marines here. Again, not super efficiently. There we go. Okay, so we survived. Let's just continue moving on. So at this point, you know what? I think we're ready to just push on in. Let's do that here. Use some Yamato cannons. Why not? Here we go. Well, our attack force that came up the ramp here got pretty destroyed. But over here it's going... Oh, well... It's going better, at least. We've only lost a lot of Marines, and they're very easy to replace. It's mainly these battle cruisers that are going to save us, I think, at the end of the day. Well, we're making our way through little by little. We're doing it with these battle cruisers. And my Marines are just walking in front of them. That's an interesting choice. Okay, let's regroup. We're not exactly losing all of our units, but it is getting close. So why don't we regroup, repair, and then rebuild our forces to be able to do another assault. Assault number 2 incoming. This time I think we'll do a little bit better. We have all of our units prepared. We've already cleared away a good amount of their base defenses. So let's give this another shot. Here we go again. I think this is the most promising. Our units over here are doing well, but they're coming across a lot of resistance. So let's put our main attention and focus on this group that's kind of going around the backside of the base. This seems a lot more promising. Little by little, working our way over here, and this time we actually... Oh, one of our tanks made it over. Hello, thank you for joining us. I'm pretty sure our units can do this. Yes, we're definitely going to take this out. So here we go, made our way over, we were able to take it out. Just like that, mission 6 is now complete. This was another set of interesting strategies, and it's really nice the way the author had us vary up and change some of the units so far. So let's see what mission 7 has in store. Once we get in, we can pull up the map and see it's called Patriot's Blood because we need to find and kill Admiral Stukov. This is one of those installation missions where we don't have any resources, and the map comes in such incredible handy in this case where we can see the direct route, all of the traps. The main thing is to just remember to actually refer to the map so something like a surprise doesn't happen to us. So we'll keep this in the back of our mind because the author says that all we need to do as we go to the area A is to watch out for wall and floor traps and always keep our medics on top of all of the other units to keep them healed. And at area A, there's some Goliaths that we can take over if we destroy their pilots first. So that's exactly what we'll try and do. Let's see how it unfolds. Well, because we have our medics with us, it's been extremely easy up to this point, so let's run our way over and see if we can take out some of these pilots before they get into the Goliaths. It looks like we're good. I don't think we're gonna have to worry about anybody taking over those Goliaths. Well, great. Now that we were able to take over this area and we have these Goliaths, that will really help us with our firepower. All the guide says at this point is after we get the Goliaths, just continue moving to Area C where Stukov is. Well, that should be easy enough. One question I have that I'm curious to see how it unfolds as we do this, we don't have any way currently of repairing the Goliaths where the medics were able to heal the Marines. So although the Goliaths are fully upgraded 3 and 3, the Marines are only 2 and 1 for their upgrades. Like I said, I'm curious how it goes because at least we could heal the Marines. But well, right as I said that, we did find an SCV, so I suppose that will help us with the repairing. Small group of enemies here, and sure enough, I mean, our units are so powerful that this is extremely easy. And just like that, Stukov is unfortunately dead, but now we need to continue on and we have a timer, so we will definitely do this as quickly as possible, although so far it's been extremely easy. I'm curious to see if it unfolds that way as we keep going. If we pull up the map one more time and then see what the author says, really the next point of interest is going to be Area E, where he says that we have a unique opportunity to take over some wall-mounted guns and have them face off against the Zerg. So we'll make our way over there. Well, we picked up some extra reinforcements, which is great because we're facing these Ultralisks, but they really don't stand a chance again against our superior numbers here. The computer just said that we can try to lure the Zerg in, so why don't we do that? I don't believe I've ever done this before, so let's try it. And then run, Marine, run! Let all of these auto turrets take everybody out. And then our units are still... Oh, I guess the unit got stuck here, but yeah. I don't think I've ever had it go so smooth before, because the Zerglings are just trickling in, so... Yeah, this was a nice way to change things up. We're not directly controlling these guns, but close enough. I think this might be one of the easiest missions we've actually done so far in the Brood War campaign. I mean, we have found so many units on this map and kept so many of them alive that this is just not even a question of challenge so far. I'm pretty sure we're going to be good on time, but let's continue pushing our way through just to be sure. Wow, and here we are at the end of the level. Well, thank you, Strategy Guide, for making this much easier than it would have been otherwise. Moving on to Mission 8, if we pull up the map, it's called To Chain the Beast because now we need to go to the Overmind. Per usual, we're surrounded by an incredible amount of Zerg, and the first thing the author says is that this mission is unusual because some of the Zerg are invulnerable, and we need to take out certain Cerebrits in order to be able to attack the rest of the Zerg. His advice, though, is pretty straightforward because all he wants us to do is build up a strong defense around our base, so that way we can face off against the enemy hero unit called Torask, which is a hero Ultralisk. Outside of defending the base, all we need to do is go up the tech tree and build battle cruisers and Valkyries. He wants specifically 4 battle cruisers and 6 Valkyries in order to take out that first Cerebrit. So let's see how everything unfolds up to that point. Well, we were able to set up the base with some nice defenses. I have the siege tanks, some missile turrets spread around. You can see I did that around a basic perimeter of the base. So now I can continue working on those air units. Oh, this is surprising. I'm actually getting attacked at the southern end of my base. Don't know why that's surprising. I probably should have expected that. So let me bring over my Marines and medics as they're getting all trapped on my workers there. And then I should be able to take this out pretty easily, especially with the medics as support, I think? Maybe? Hopefully? I don't really have anything upgraded on them yet, only one attack, because this came a lot quicker than I was expecting initially. I think we're good though, yes. We're gonna just barely survive, which is great. And I will build a bunker down here now, so again, lesson learned. Oh, remember how I mentioned Torask? So yeah, this is Torask right here. Very powerful unit that basically is one-shotting all of my people. Well, we have yet another Torask on the way. I think this is already number 3 or 4 in the mission. The great thing is, while we're building up these battle cruisers, they can certainly stand in for defense to help take it out. Oh no, well, alright, I did have this base established. I don't think there's any way to have all of these units survive, unfortunately, so I will lift up the base and have everybody run away. Alright, well now Torask is running in over to the main part of the base, which I suppose is good. But yeah, let's reestablish, stabilize, and then we need to take out that first Cerebrit. Alright, we finally have our group of 6 Valkyries and also the 4 battle cruisers. Let's run over and make sure and take out this Cerebrit really quickly so then we can move on to the other one, mainly because this one only allows us to take out these sunken colonies, but we do want to make it to the Cerebrit number 2, as that's going to be how Torask keeps reviving. Well, you know what? I forgot to do the Yamato cannon upgrade. So we were supposed to do that to make it quicker, but he still says we just need to take it out with the battle cruisers. So there we are, good enough. And now that we took this out, we're gonna destroy these in case we need to expand here. But what's the next thing the author wants us to do? So we'll need a force of at least 4 siege tanks and then 3 groups of 10 marines with 2 medics mixed in as well, and a science vessel for lurkers. And it looks like that's all we need to do. But Torask is going to continue to be a huge pain, so we're gonna try our best to defend. You see, I have a little bit beefed up defenses compared to before. Here he is again. Let's see how this one unfolds since we're actively already here. Alright, well, a lot better than it fared previously. Well, we have our groups of units now ready to go for assault number 2 on the second Cerebrit. We have the 4 siege tanks, the science vessel, and our 3 groups of marine and medic. So, well, we'll just see how it unfolds again. Making our way little by little up to the Cerebrit. So far it's been going really well. We have all of our units for the most part surviving and just making that push. At the Cerebrit, finally surrounded by these Ultralisk caverns, which is fitting because Torask is spawned over here. Finally, we don't have to worry about that unit any longer. So if we now look at the final Cerebrit that we need to destroy, there's a couple of options that we're given, and I'll be honest, I'm leaning towards the one that sounds the most interesting, which is taking a group of 8 dropships to deposit a pair of siege tanks and a horde of marines and medics. That's per the author. He says a horde of marines and medics on the Cerebrit. To make that landing successful, we need to take at least 3 or more battle cruisers up to Area B and use Yamato cannons to take out the first waves of all of those spore colonies. Well, I feel like that is the most fascinating way of going about this, so that's what I'll do. Well, why don't we take out this first spore colony? Here we are. I actually remembered to use the Yamato gun and research it now, so we'll be good with that. And let's take out another one here. There we go. Continue creeping our way forward to make some room for the massive drop to happen. Alright, let's see how the initial ground assault goes, because we need to take out this area in order to ferry our troops up on a ridge that is over in this area. So, yeah. Taking out everything pretty easily. A lot of overwhelming firepower with all of these marines and the backups of the battle cruisers. Oh, and can't forget the tanks as well. They're very important here. Now that we're taking out this initial base defense, why don't we regroup, pull everybody over, and let's do the drop now that we have some of this cleared away. Well, something I did not realize until just right now is if I pull up the map, We're not supposed to necessarily make a direct assault if we're using these dropships. We can go back around the top end of the base and then do the drop from there on the Overmind. So this is how I'm going to do it. I moved my dropships up to the top. Let's see if this unfolds correctly. All right, everybody run over and drop on top of the Cerebrate. Try to unload you. There we are. Try not to lose too many units while we're doing the drop here. Get our couple of siege tanks going. Although, you know what? I did forget to bring over something as an observer. Oh, all we need to do is focus this down, actually. And there we are. Okay, this last one was taken out. That was quite a bit easier than I thought, than going up the front end of the base. So now all we have to do is move a medic onto each of these beacons, and that'll be it. And now the Terran campaign is officially complete. And we've gone through 16 out of the 26 missions. So next up, we can look forward to going through the final campaign, being the Zerg. But as always, thank you all for being here, and hopefully you have a great rest of your day wherever you are, and we'll see you on the next episode of Guidebound.